And down the hours. It's almost that time, ladies and gentlemen. This has been a long, long period. But, ladies and gentlemen, National Signing Day is almost here. Guy Nation, what's poppin'? Crazy Dog, coming at you once again on the fucking crazy YouTube channel. And 24 hours from signing day, the early signing day. Can't forget about that little portion right there. There's two. You have the one tomorrow, and then you have the one in February. Now, for anyone who's like, so what's the difference? Well, if you sign tomorrow, then you can enroll early at the university that you were committed to, and you can participate in spring practices. Like last year, for instance, Carnell Tate, who we saw quite a bit of that season, right? He enrolled early. I know Brennan Innes wanted to, but his school didn't allow it, which stunk. But hey, he did play a little bit. You know, a lot of fans were kind of cheesed at the fact that he didn't play. You know, especially fans of other teams. You know, because of course you have the whole transfer portal shenanigans going on right now. I will get into that in a little bit. But anyways, in this very special, I guess, signing day eve stream, I'm going to go through the recruiting class and talk about who I think is locked in and who I think could potentially dip. Now, a couple of days ago, we saw Jordan Lyle, who had been locked in as a Buckeye for quite a while, actually. He flipped to Miami, and I'm starting to get kind of pissed off because we've now had, what is it, 4 kids go to Miami. They've either flipped or Miami just straight up took him from us. I mean, last year, Mark Fletcher, remember that? This is now the second year in a row that Ohio State has had a running back flip from Ohio State to Miami. And then in this recruiting cycle, we've seen them take, was it Marquise Lightfoot? They've got Justin Scott, and now Jordan Lyle. And of course, they're always knocking on the door trying to get Jeremiah Smith. But luckily, guys, from what I saw in some articles posted by noted Ohio State writer Bill Kurlick, and I've even seen Wilt Fong talk about it too. It sounds like Jeremiah is 100% locked in as a Buckeye. And I needed to hear that. After what we've gone through these last couple weeks, you see the guys featured that you see on your screen, Jeremiah Smith and Edric Houston. Well, over the past couple days, Edric Houston, sounds like he took some visits this weekend. He went to Clemson, went to Alabama, and of course, the way Nick Saban is, I mean, it's funny. This guy will literally do really nothing, like you won't hear much of Alabama recruiting wise from essentially like spring until say around mid-season. Got to give Alabama a chance to cook on the football field, right? Show off what they got. But then around this time, every freaking year, Alabama wakes up recruiting wise and they just jump up the recruiting rankings. In fact, I just checked the rankings and they're number 3 on 247. Like once upon a time, they were way down there. They were like in the teens. And just like that, they're number 3. Yep. So there you go, Nick Saban doing his thing again. They're going to have a top 5 class. And the funniest part is, I remember all summer long, Florida Gator fans, right? They were very loud because they had a top 5 class. They were number 3 for a couple months. You know, they had a pop in June. Speaking of which, I'll get into one of their commits from that June hop off, right? They had, I think, one day where they had like 3 or 4 commits on the same day. And I'm pretty sure most of those guys, if not all of them, have now left. It's tough. That's tough. So we're going to look at the latest buzz too, but you know, this final 24 hours, always going to be crazy. That's the beauty of recruiting. Now, looking at the Ohio State recruiting class heading into tomorrow, 22 commits, second still in the ranking. We've been second forever, it felt like. I mean, it feels like we've always been second. Top 5 right now, you have Georgia. They've been number 1 for essentially the entire period, for the most part, even though they did lose Dylan Raiola, which is hilarious because that dude has went to 3 different high schools and he's now been committed to 3 different colleges in the last like year and a half or so. Like, I ain't never seen someone flip flop like that so much. My God. And I wouldn't be surprised if he did it again. If Nebraska stinks next year, I would not be shocked if he dipped. Because that's just the way he is, it seems like. We thought, oh yeah, we got Jeremiah, we got Dylan, we cooking. Nah, he goes to freaking Georgia. He even moved to Georgia. Right? We're thinking, okay, he moved to Georgia to be closer to the team, and then he flips to Nebraska. I bet you if he had one more year of eligibility in high school, he would have went to a Nebraska high school. This dude's trying to do like a tour around the United States, it seems like, but yep, Georgia is number 1. They have 3 5-stars, 24 stars, and 4 3-stars. Average of 93.31. They have a total of 310 points. Ohio State number 2. Alabama, like I said, they're number 3. We have the same amount of recruits, 22. They are 2 points behind us. And then 2 points behind Alabama is Florida State. And then rounding out the top 5, you have Texas. In fact, Ohio State, Bama, Florida State, and Texas all have around the same amount of recruits. Florida State has 1 more than us, Bama, and Texas. And rounding out the top 10, you have Miami, who has come on strong as of late. They have 14 3-stars, 12 4, and 1 5-star. Yeah, 1 5-star. And in case you're curious, that 5-star is former Buckeye Justin Scott. Of course. I'm actually shocked that he went to Miami and not Notre Dame. Damn. Could have sworn he was going to go to Notre Dame when he first committed. I mean, I literally committed, I think, the day before I made this channel. A day or 2 before I made this channel. Then you have Oklahoma, you know, they're still around there. Literally right on their heel is Oregon. Not even a point behind them. They are, I believe, 0.67 points. Not even a point behind them. Like, if Oregon gets 1 more recruit, they'll pass Oklahoma. That's how close they are. Then you have Notre Dame in 9th. And then rounding that out, you have Florida with not with 19 commits. I can't even tell you how many commits they've had leave. They used to be number 3 in the nation on 247 recruiting. They've dropped all the way down to 10. And of course, you know, we're just waiting on Amaris Williams, and yeah, they're going to be outside the top 10 once Amaris makes his choice. Especially if he goes to Auburn, which is the vibe right now, as Auburn is literally right there. Just like I mentioned, you know, just now with Oklahoma, Oregon. Auburn is literally right there. And Auburn has one more commit than Florida. And then, in 12th, you have LSU with 27 commits. Penn State has 25. Tennessee has 20. And then rounding out the top 15, you have old Clemson. So there you go. That's the top 15 right there. And looking at Ohio State's recruiting class heading into tomorrow, I'm going to talk about, who's locked in and who could potentially dip. And of course, you have mostly, I think everyone's committing, like signing tomorrow. Jeremiah, he's locked in. Mylan Graham, locked in. Edric, he's been kind of a touchy one lately. Like I said, he visited Clemson and Alabama this past weekend, and Buckeye fans were so sure he was going to flip, but it sounds like he's going to sign with the Buckeyes. And I just need to see it to believe it at this point. I need to see it to believe it. Everyone else, they should be, locked in as a Buckeye. Aaron Scott, Aaron Noland, Jeremiah McClellan, although Oregon did make a little bit of a push for him, it sounds like he'll be a Ohio State Buckeye. James Peoples, Garrett Stover, Bryce West. Yeah, I think everyone else will be locked in. Especially, we need James Peoples and Sam Williams-Dixon to lock in because Jordan Lyle's gone. We have 2 running back commits now. And technically, they had Sam Williams-Dixon as an athlete, so he's not really a straight up running back, I guess. But man, that's crazy. I heard people talking like Ohio State was trying to have like 26, 27, commits in this class. And they haven't added anybody. They've lost a couple, but they haven't added anybody. And they've missed out on quite a few guys, too. Do I even need to go over the names that they've missed out on? I mean, it's crazy. And Buckeye fans are starting to get a little antsy, especially on the D line. Because, for years, D line has been one of our big things when it comes to recruiting. We have a legend in Larry Johnson coaching the position. You'd think he'd be able to just lock in these recruits, right? Not anymore. Not anymore, that's for sure. As of this stream, we have 2, yes, 2 D-line recruits, D-line commits right now. Edric Houston, who's a 4-star, borderline 5. And then you have Eric Menza, who we flipped from Virginia Tech. Yeah, that's disappointing. Yep. Especially when we were interested in so many other guys, Dylan Stewart. I thought he was going to be a Buckeye until South Carolina came calling. Justin Scott was legit a Buckeye until he's like, I'm going to go to Miami. I'm going to go play in a stadium that's not even half full half the time. Marquise Lightfoot, I thought he would have been a Buckeye, but no, he goes to Miami too. Like, it's crazy, but that's just the way recruiting is now. Not going to come out here and act all salty. It's recruiting. These kids are very impressionable. And you got to be sure to, essentially, got to be sure to pass along a good message and show that you mean business. Because, of course, nowadays with NIL, money talks, as they say, right? Yeah, money talks. But as we've seen with Texas A&M, you could pay you can pay all the money in the world to these kids, and you could still stink. And then what'll happen is, especially if the check bounces, right? They'll bounce in the portal. Yep, and then your class will look like just trash. Yep. Can't tell you how many kids I've seen from Texas A&M freaking entering the portal. Gosh. And speaking of the portal, got some other things to talk about. But yeah, so let's talk about the stuff in the portal. Of course, I've already mentioned many, many times in prior streams and videos talking about the guys that the Buckeyes have been targeting. Caleb Elarms or Kamari Ramsey. I know he didn't do a video on Kamari, but he was in town recently. They've had Derek Harmon. Anyways, we're 24 hours from signing day. And it's pretty cool that that happened because I was just about to get into the transfer portal business here. As the Buckeyes have been pretty active in the portal, I guess low key. Not a lot of noise. They had a couple kids in for visits over the weekend, the past 2 weekends. And then yesterday or 2 days ago, news came out that Tackett Curtis, a kid that the Buckeyes were very interested in prior to him committing to USC last year. Well, he's in the portal now. Yeah. That makes things all more interesting, right? Yeah. Buckeye is interested in former USC linebacker Tackett Curtis. Entered the portal officially yesterday, and everyone on Buckeye Twitter and on Buckeye Nation on social media immediately jumped to the conclusion that the Buckeyes will be interested. And then earlier today, from some of the writers on 247, I think it was Tom Loy or Wilt Fong, I don't know, I can't remember who it was, but he said, I think it was on 3 who said it. Spiegelman, I believe, was his last name. Buckeyes have reached out to Tackett Curtis. Now, reached out is an interesting term. We've heard that about a dozen times already in the portal. They've reached out to many guys, but they seemingly haven't been able to get guys in for visits. Most notably, LT Overton, Chase Basantis, 2 guys that they've reached out to, but they haven't offered or brought in for visits yet. I need to see Tackett Curtis in Columbus before I really get hyped up about this. Because otherwise, I'm going to get hyped up and he's going to wind up committing somewhere else. That's how it's been working. Now, I have noticed a lot of people are pissed at how the Buckeyes have been addressed in the portal, and I get it. I 100% understand, right? You're seeing these other teams, they are cleaning up. I mean, golly, do I have to? I'm going to go through the portal ranking right now, and you're going to be shocked at who's at the top. Louisville, Colorado, no surprise. Ole Miss, right? Washington. They haven't done a whole lot of action, but it's mainly been Louisville, Colorado, and Ole Miss. They have been cleaning up. Louisville lost 11 players. They've added 13. Colorado's lost 12, added 16. And then Ole Miss, they've lost 11 and they've added 10. And you look at who they've added so far, Lane Kiffin is not messing around. I mean, gee whiz, let's just take a look at the guys they're bringing in. So, Juice Wells is coming in there, Tyler Barron, Tamarian McDonald, Princely, one of the top-rated DNs on the in the portal. And I guess they're in on Walter Nolan, too, so they're going to have a nasty pass rush if they do bring in Nolan. He Lawrence is in there now, and a couple other lower to mid-tier guys. But yeah, they are cooking in the portal. As far as Louisville, they've been pretty busy too, to say the least. Yeah, they've been getting after it. Louisville, in terms of guys coming in, I mean, Victor Cutler, yeah, former Buckeye. Of course, he transferred in last year. He's now at Louisville, probably so he can get actual playing time. He didn't play really at all with us. And other than that, I mean, nobody really that jumps out at you. I mean, Victor Cutler, Jacoy Brooks. I mean, how could I forget about him? He was actually a 5-star coming out of high school. but they have him as a 3-star in the portal. Huh. Interesting. Of course, Thor Griffith, Tyler Shuck. So they got themselves a quarterback there. And it's crazy because you look at the Buckeyes, and a lot of people would see this and they would get pissed. You got to remember, there's 2 portal periods. And historically, the Buckeyes, around this time, they've always been kind of quiet in the portal. Really, I mean, let's take a look at last year. Let's take a look at last year, okay? You're going to notice something. Most of the guys we added last year, besides a freaking kicker and a long snapper, most of the guys were after signing day. Late or like mid to late January. Jahad Carter, January 3rd. Tristan Jebbia, January 18th. Victor Cutler, January 18th. Davison Igbinosun, January 31st. That was the early portal period. This was when the portal was 45 days. Now it's only 30. And then the spring portal period came, and they added Lorenzo Styles, Josh Simmons, Tyrone Malone. And then August 1st, right? The whole Northwestern ding-a-ling car wash thing happened. That's literally what people call it. Probably the funniest name for something like that, but it's not a funny situation. And they added Nigel Glover, who essentially was a freshman. You might as well say he was, a part of the recruiting class. So that was pretty cool. He's from right in the backyard in Northmont, Dayton, Ohio. So that was our recruiting class, transfers in. And then in terms of guys who we lost last year, of course, Jansen Dunn, Taraja Mitchell, Jalen Johnson, Ja'Kalen Johnson, Javante Jean-Baptiste, who I heard was a stud at Notre Dame, Mason Arnold, long snapper, Zaid Hamden, Michael O'Shaughnessy. He's actually, I think, back in the portal, I thought. Caleb Brown. I heard he did pretty good at Iowa. Caleb Barton over at Auburn. Ben Chrisman at Kentucky. And then Jake Seibert over to Northern Illinois. So, yeah. All I'm going to say is to any Buckeye fans watching this, and you're pissed off about how the Buckeyes have been quiet in the portal. I mean, like I said, last year around this time, December, they added 2 players in the portal, and they were both special teamers. My guess is they're going to get this recruiting class locked in, and then they're going to be aggressive. They're going to start working in the portal. That's what I think they're going to do. So we'll see what happens. But getting Tackett Curtis would be huge for the Buckeyes because the Buckeyes were in his top 2 when he originally committed out of high school. And Jim Knowles actually, personally, at least I'm pretty sure he did, recruited him himself. I believe he was recruiting him when he was at Oklahoma State. And then he continued that pursuit with us when we hired him last year. Or 2 years ago, excuse me. Yeah, 2 years ago. So it would be fantastic if we were able to bring him in. But again, there's going to be many teams going after him. And I'm not gonna get too hyped until I see that we have him in for a visit and that we've actually offered him. Because honestly, when I hear, oh, the Buckeyes have reached out, I'm just like, okay, cool. They've reached out to 10 people and they have not added a single person yet. So I'm gonna wait to get excited. I'm a temper my expectations right now. I mean, I'm not one to be patient, but I kind of have to be patient now. I have really no choice because let the guys do their work, right? Let the guys do their work. Let me look him up here. Let me just see if I can find anything. Yeah, Tackett Curtis out of Many, Louisiana, 4-star. And just, a quick refresher on his recruiting, because obviously he has really nothing going on right there in terms of, possible locations where he could go. Recruiting wise, Ohio State was, I guess, labeled as number 2 in his final top 4 in the prediction machine. We were at 14.5%. And like I said, Jim Knowles personally recruited him. So my guess is we're probably going to be interested. I've already heard that we've reached out, like I've said before. I expect the Buckeyes to be in on him. Now, can they actually get him? I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. Now, of course, as we get closer to signing day, which is again about 1 day away, we're probably going to hear some more stuff coming out. Now, like earlier, I mentioned about our recruiting class, right? And we have 22 commits. They're also still trying to work on some potential flips. Like I've already heard Kingston Villiamuasa, they've been in on him, but I guess his mother just really wants him to stay at Notre Dame. And sometimes a mama's influence is just too much. So I don't think he's going anywhere. Other than that, I mean, you have Amaris Williams. And the interesting thing about Amaris is that if you go on 3, all I've seen is predictions to Notre Dame. Not Notre Dame, Auburn. Got Notre Dame on the brain. I mean, I've seen so many guys over on 3 predict Auburn. But then you go to 247 Sports, there's been one transfer or one flip prediction. Tom Loy, who works for Notre Dame, go figure. He writes for Notre Dame, the website over there on 247. He has one prediction, Ohio State. So yeah, Wilt Fong, Kurlick, they haven't placed a prediction for Amaris. It's almost like they don't really know what to expect. So who knows what's going to happen? And then, to add a little bit more to the fire of, Amaris Williams possibly flipping to Ohio State, over the past couple days, it sounded like Auburn was probably going to get him. That was until I saw this. This was, I believe, from one of the articles, I think on 247. And it reads, and I quote, "And one final tidbit regarding Ohio State. In what looked like an Auburn-Florida battle down the stretch for Amaris Williams has seen the Buckeyes come back strong here at the end. Committed to the Gators since June, Williams took 2 visits to Columbus this fall for the games against Penn State and Sparty, and looked on the verge of flipping. I mean, literally, I thought he was going to flip when everyone else was leaving. But he took, I think, a visit to Tennessee. Nothing really happened. And then all of a sudden, he decided to go visit Auburn and I think Georgia. And that's where it got kind of stingy there. Kind of got tricky. But yeah, on the verge of flipping. Okay, Florida held off Ohio State. Auburn emerged. The Gators are hanging with them. And the Buckeyes are getting what they need done to make a push. If the Buckeyes come out of nowhere and get Amaris Williams, I'm sure Gator fans would appreciate that because they don't want to see him go to Auburn. I mean, that's like Trevor Etienne, right? That's like Trevor Etienne right now. Word is he's going to go to Georgia. Imagine being a Gator fan, right? You're watching Trevor Etienne just go off for your team. Next thing you know, oh yeah, he's transferring to Georgia. I'd be like, boy, are you serious right now? Like, you're not even going to Clemson where your brother played? Oh my God. Nothing like getting tormented by a player that used to play for you. That would be tough. Really, that's all I got, guys, for you. I know I apologize once again for the internet just cutting out. It does that I have the only version of modern day dial up ever in the world. It feels like dial up. It isn't, but it feels like it. Whenever my phone rings, the freaking internet goes out because the internet and the phone line are connected. They're one entity, and when there's interference on the phone side, the internet just goes. So I just say, bear with me, and luckily for us, it came back on quickly, so no worries there. But yeah, again, 24 hours from signing day, and the vibe right now is pretty tense, right? We don't know what to expect. Are we going to get any more flips? Are we going to have guys flipping to us? It would be cool, right? I mean, it would be awesome if I ended this stream, went to go check my Twitter, and I saw a tweet from, Curlick, or if I saw Hayes Fawcett post one of those goaded edits, someone saying, of him saying, like, so and so has committed to the Buckeyes, or, breaking news, Trevor Etienne has flipped to the Buckeyes. I don't think that's going to happen because the way it sounds, Trevion's coming back. But now we're only going to have 4 running backs possibly next year. I mean, in fact, let me actually take a look at the Buckeyes depth chart as of right now, just to see what we got. I'm going to check real quick my Twitter just to make sure nothing else has popped up, because things could always pop up out of nowhere. You never know with this stuff. James Peoples tweeted a picture talking about he's locked in. He's signing tomorrow. Love to see it. The Buckeyes have 21 commitments that will go on scholarship as soon as they arrive at Ohio State. 16 of those will graduate early and enroll at Ohio State in January. So Kurlik actually just posted this list. Oh, this is dope. Man, look at Kurlik. Those that won't be graduating early are Mylan Graham, Max a lot next year. I expect, unless we go out and, flip one or get one in the portal, which I doubt. Now, Peyton Pierce, Garrett Stover, they're probably going to play a bit, in their freshman year. Of course, freshmen don't usually play a lot with us to start off. Drake Houston, I could see him playing quite a bit too. Same thing with Menza. It's going to be very interesting to see what the Buckeyes do, in the next 24 hours. Especially, if they add anybody in the portal. London Humphreys committed to Georgia. That's been a thing for like weeks now. Not even surprised. Look at this. So top 10 transfer portal departures by school. From Pete Nikos from On3. Indiana, Purdue, and Sparty have had 22 guys leave. Cincy's had 21. Arkansas 19. NC State 18. Vanderbilt, Georgia, and Florida have had 17 guys leave via transfer portal. Ohio State, South Carolina, USC, and Florida State have had 16. That's actually crazy. But yeah, it sounds like, from what people are saying on Twitter, the Buckeyes upped their NIL offer to Amaris, which makes me pretty happy. That's funny. Drew Essler, who works for the collective on the Buckeye, the 1870 Society, which is the NIL collective for Ohio State, he posted a freaking tweet showing Thanos with the gauntlet, tweeting, "The power of Buckeye Nation is starting to show." Right. I always say, never underestimate the power of Buckeye Nation when it comes to this stuff. You just got to motivate them. You got to practically drag them out of bed pretty much and say, money, please. Money, 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 money. Money. Hey. Hey. Money. You gotta pretty much like drag them out of bed. And then one thing from our friend Kurlik. I'm sorry, it's Wiltfong, not Kurlick. It's the head man over there. Let's look at this real quick here, guys. This is like, I wasn't even planning on talking about this either. But Jordan Seaton, I guess, is looking at other schools now too. I wonder if the Buckeyes are going to still try to make a run at him. Let's see, so intel day before signing day for Mr. Wiltfong. Programs still coming after Jordan Seaton. Yeah, of course, originally it was supposed to be Tennessee, Oregon, and Ohio State as his final three, but then Colorado came out of nowhere, right? Maryland. Yeah. All right. Maryland's still lurking on him as well. KJ Bolden keeping Auburn and Georgia. Wow. I'm not really surprised there. I mean, he'll probably stay, but who knows? Alabama flipping one from Texas. Aaron Hampton. Ohio State's push for a strong finish from about 2 hours ago. Jeremiah's not going nowhere. And it's so funny because, over the past few months, even the year, if you watched a Florida, and if the Buckeyes come out of nowhere and steal Amaris Williams from Auburn, that would be glorious. But we'll see what happens. So it's going to be a fun final 24 hours. If I hear anything else, I'll make a video on it. If it's big, I'll go live for it. So stay tuned and be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that bell. You don't want to miss it. Recruiting is about to wrap up for 2024. And of course, once it does, 2025, you're up next. And we'll start hearing stuff about that class. Really starting in the next month or so. Because I know the Buckeyes have a couple of 2025 targets that could be committing at the All-American game. I'll be doing reactions to those commitments when they happen. So that's all I got for you guys. And shout out to everyone who's been tuning in. Shout out to the subscribers. Again, I'm on the long road to 100 subs on this channel. My ultimate goal is to have this channel surpass the main channel, which that's probably not going to happen for a long time. As always, keep locked in. And let's go Bucks. Let's see what the Buckeyes have in store for us. It's going to be a fun couple hours. So until my next video, or whenever, see you guys. I might go live. I'm actually going to go live tomorrow to just talk about the recruiting class as a whole. Who we brought in. Did we flip anybody and everything? So I will see you all later. Go Buckeyes. I'm Crazy Dog, as always, coming at you on the Buckin' Crazy YouTube channel.